I did something. Went today, I bought a cigar. Villager, 1888. Now, I always have liked good cigar, but I really don't know a whole lot about them. So I don't know if this one's really any good. Certainly smells nice. We're going to find out. Now, the reason that I went and bought this cigar today is because I think it is a little bit of a day of celebration. There's certainly room for introspection. But today, a young man whose life would have otherwise been ruined was exonerated of all 5 charges against him. Trumped up charges by the state, because, well, what else is the state good for? Tastes pretty good too. But I think I'd like to talk about it a little bit. Kyle Rittenhouse was charged with no less than 2 counts of first-degree homicide for the crime of defending himself against a violent mob in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Those charges didn't make sense. In addition to that, he was charged with, reckless endangerment against 2 other people, and, well, maybe 3 other people. So, we all saw the videos. We all saw what happened. We all know that Kyle Rittenhouse was innocent. And after 4 days of deliberation, I think it was 4 days, the jury ruled in his favor. Not guilty of the first-degree murder of, was it Joseph Rosenbaum? Or any lesser charges on that count. Not guilty of the reckless endangerment of Richard McGinnis. Not guilty of the reckless endangerment of a third party who yet to be identified, but yeah, turns out the prosecutors knew who he was the whole time. Not guilty of the first-degree murder of Anthony Huber or any lesser charge, and not guilty of the so-called attempted murder of Gage Grosskreutz. Now, four of these people were obviously caught in 4K attacking this kid for no other reason than trying to put out a fire that somebody else had started. What did the state do? Threw the book at him because he was a 17-year-old in possession of a firearm, which Wisconsin law is a little murky on that subject, so the judge threw that charge out. Because according to Wisconsin law, 17-year-olds can actually possess long guns. Holy shit. They're not legally allowed to buy them. But that wasn't one of the charges. It's kind of a great day. I'm proud that that jury made the right decision. Not because well, really not for any other reason than Kyle didn't deserve to be there. He didn't deserve to go through that. Kyle Rittenhouse literally did nothing wrong. We have natural rights in this country, and one of the primary natural rights that we have is the right to preserve our own lives. Regardless of the situation, whether or not you should have been there because you're 17 years old. Regardless of any of that, when somebody is attacking you with violent force, you absolutely have the right to defend yourself. Up to and including the use of deadly force. I'm honestly looking forward to seeing all the cope come out of this. Everybody freaking out because a murderer walks free. Yeah. Self-defense is justifiable. For somebody to attack somebody else just because they have a difference in opinion is not justifiable. For a mob to attack somebody because they perceived him to be a murderer is not justifiable. I really don't know how to smoke a cigar. I think it went out. Now, if you didn't watch the trial, if you didn't have time, I spent as much time as I possibly could watching it because I wanted to know what was going to happen. The prosecution in this case was absolutely slimy. And again, everybody that's been paying attention knows that. So when Thomas Binger got up and declared that Kyle Rittenhouse had provoked the attack simply by bringing a gun and made the claim that, well, or made the statement rather, not made the claim, but asked the question, shall we say, that since Kyle didn't necessarily think that he was in any danger, what was the point in him bringing a gun? Well, I carry a gun everywhere I go, if I can legally carry. I don't carry concealed. Tried to get my concealed carry permit here a while back, and the website in Baton Rouge is just completely screwed up, and I was never actually able to get in touch with anybody in order to get that fixed. But in the meantime, I open carry, which is perfectly legal in my state. So I don't necessarily do that because I anticipate danger. I do that in case danger arises, because you never know. So there is a legitimate reason to carry firearms. And for a prosecutor who is supposed to know the law, specifically so that he can know what to charge a person with, a person who may have committed a crime, for a prosecutor to suggest something like that is absolutely sleazy. It's repulsive. For that, and many other crimes throughout the course of this trial, Thomas Binger and Big Boy Kraus, whatever the hell his first name is, need to be disbarred. And not only disbarred, they need to be prosecuted. Because they straight up fabricated evidence. Now, Kraus apparently has a program called Handbrake on his computer, which is specifically for changing aspect ratios of a video, which a major complaint that was brought in the course of this trial, particularly at the end of it, was a picture that the prosecution brought right there at the very end, pretty much in their closing arguments, that they claim showed Kyle pointing a firearm at Joshua Zeminski and Mrs. Zeminski. I don't know her name. Don't care. Two people that are charged with arson. Miss Zeminski is already serving her jail term for it, but they're waiting to try, or they were waiting for the trial of Joshua Zeminski until the conclusion of this case. Reason being, because Joshua Zeminski pulled a gun on Kyle Rittenhouse, which would have justified Kyle Rittenhouse raising his rifle at the Zeminskis if he had done that. But the only thing that they had was a grainy photo taken from a drone that was, I don't know, at least 100 feet away. And even though the video from the drone was high quality, when you blow that image up, it doesn't get any clearer. And when you take something that's 5 pixels high and you blow it up to full size, that those 5 pixels take up an entire TV screen. It doesn't add definition. If it does, something's clearly wrong. So it wasn't clear what was happening in that photo. However, at that exact moment, there was somebody on the other side of the street from where this had all taken place that was recorded that very same moment. And at no point in time do you see Kyle Rittenhouse raise his gun at the Zeminskis. What you see is that little 5-foot 3-inch tall danger hobbit bearing down on Kyle Rittenhouse. He had no choice but to run. And when he could run no further, he had no choice but to fire. Now, it is important to note that in the state of Wisconsin, if you're under attack, there is no duty to retreat. The stand your ground principle exists. So the theory goes that Kyle could have turned around right then and there and shot him. But he didn't. He still retreated because, well, for all anti-2A people like to act as though we pro-2A people just want to kill somebody, that's the last thing on our minds. All of us genuinely hope and pray that nothing like this ever happens to us. I don't want to be put in that situation. And I know that this 17-year-old kid didn't want to be put in that situation either, but he was. What would you do? What would you do if it was a crazy right-wing nut job bearing down on you, threatening to kill you? If you say you'd just let him kill you, you're either a fool or a liar. And in either situation, you're in no condition to be leading or giving advice to anybody. Because if you're the kind of person that would follow a fool like that, somebody foolish enough to allow themselves to be killed, to shut off the part of their brain that is geared towards self-preservation, then you will only ever be in a position to be victimized. And it will be that person's fault for leading you to that conclusion. That person who says that I would just lay down my life if somebody was attacking me. If you lay down your life because somebody is attacking you and somebody else told you that that was the wise decision, you're both idiots. On the other hand, if the person who says that they would just allow that to happen is lying, well, in any case, that's not the type of person you should be following. That's not the type of person you should be paying attention to. Something else that I find incredibly troubling about this entire situation is how the prosecution decided to declare these people who were attacking a 17-year-old boy in the middle of the fucking street as heroes. He just killed somebody. They thought they were dealing with the threat of a mass shooter, an active shooter. Bullshit. 100% bullshit. Nobody thought they were dealing with an active shooter because people flee from active shooters, especially people who are unarmed. People who are armed in an active shooter situation tend to take action. Not the kind of action that you saw that night, mind you. Like, what the fuck is a guy with a skateboard going to do up against a guy with a gun? These people didn't think they were stopping a mass shooter. They were retaliating for their fallen comrade. Let's take a look at that fallen comrade, by the way. Joseph Rosenbaum raped no less than 5 boys ages 9 to 11. It was either 9 to 11 or 5 to 11. Either way, that's absolutely repulsive. And this is the kind of person that the prosecution is propping up as a hero. Because according to the prosecution, Joseph Rosenbaum only attacked Kyle Rittenhouse when Joseph Rosenbaum saw Kyle Rittenhouse raise his gun on the Zeminskis, which didn't fucking happen. Disbar Binger. Let's take a look at the next person. Anthony Huber. Guilty of multiple physical assaults against his girlfriends, from what I understand. I don't know if I have him engage Grosskreutz backwards, so if I get something wrong, please forgive me. Said to be a personal friend, according to different media sources, things that I've heard, I don't know how true it is, again, but said to be a personal friend of Jacob Blake, which is what that protest was about, which again was like, you can protest. I don't care if you protest. You have the First Amendment right to do that. The moment that you attack somebody, the moment that you throw a Molotov cocktail, the moment that you beat a parked car with a baseball bat or a pipe or a fence post, you lose. Simple as that. But Anthony Huber is said to be a close personal friend of Jacob Blake, who was justifiably shot by police. And again, this is another one of those cases. It's already closed. The evidence has been weighed, and the police involved were determined to have acted justly because he was breaking a restraining order with a deadly weapon and attempting to kidnap his rape victim's children. So, yet again, the prosecution is declaring somebody who is much less than wholesome and keeps much less than wholesome company to be a hero for attacking a 17-year-old boy who was cleaning up graffiti and trying to keep people from burning down more of his community. And yes, though Kyle Rittenhouse lived in Antioch, Illinois, his father lives in Kenosha, his father's side of the family lives in Kenosha, his best friend lives in Kenosha, he works in Kenosha. That is his community. then we come around to Gage Grosskreutz. Actually, no. I skipped somebody. The unnamed party. Turns out that party actually is named. Commonly, he is has been referred to throughout the course of the trial as Jump Kick Man. He was the man who was stomping his foot into Kyle Rittenhouse's face. Kyle Rittenhouse took 2 shots at him and missed. Well, the prosecution, again, knew the entire time who he was. They could have arrested him and charged him with violent physical assault. Felony assault. Because he was already in the process of rioting, he was already in the process of committing felonies, and then he went and assaulted somebody, so felony assault. They chose not to do it. I mean, the guy was seeking immunity for other crimes not related to this incident, so they could have prosecuted him anyway, but they chose not to. Wonder why. Now, it turns out that guy is known. You can go check out Jeremy Hambley's channel, The Quartering, where he's actually got information like that. We know who that guy is. I don't know his name off the top of my head, but he's been identified. So now on to Gage Grosskreutz. A felon in possession of a firearm, carrying it concealed, and his concealed carry permit was out of date. Now, from what I understand, that felony has been expunged since all of this happened, so I don't know that it's really relevant anymore, but it was then, which makes it relevant to the case. Also, Gage Grosskreutz was supposed to be there acting as a medic, yet he's carrying a gun. One of the primary points of the prosecution was, well, if you're a medic, why do you need a gun? If you're there to help people, if you're there to, put bandage on scratches and wrap up sprained ankles, why do you need to carry a gun? Why did Gage Grosskreutz need to carry a gun? He was there as a medic too, wasn't he? Gage Grosskreutz flat out lied on the stand. Actually, no, I'm sorry, he didn't lie on the stand. He was cornered into actually telling the truth on the stand. Everybody saw that video clip. If you didn't, I highly recommend watching it. Where the defense is asking, so Kyle Rittenhouse didn't actually shoot you until you had your gun pointed at his head, correct? Correct, says Gage Grosskreutz. Not long after that, Gage Grosskreutz goes on a media tour and changes his story and declares that, oh yeah, you can actually see my arm being vaporized before my gun's pointed at Kyle Rittenhouse's head. So that was an involuntary reaction. I involuntarily pointed my gun directly at his head as he was vaporizing my bicep. Yet that's not what the pictures show. Yet, Gage Grosskreutz is still somebody that the defense decided to declare a hero in Kenosha that night. If I'm not mistaken, Gage Grosskreutz was arrested for abusing his grandmother. What kind of people do the prosecutors in Kenosha, Wisconsin really think are heroes? And if those are the kind of people that the prosecution see as heroes, do I really want them in charge of prosecutorial measures? Ultimately, we have cause for celebration, because the jury acquitted Kyle of all charges. And I'm sure for Kyle there's going to be a lot of congratulatory slaps on the back, well wishes. And I'd like to take some small part in that. Not really going to clap you on the back or anything, but I will say congratulations. Congratulations, rather. You are innocent. There's no video footage that suggests anything otherwise. There's no real witness testimony that says anything otherwise. So, that is definitely something to be congratulatory over. But if I might speak to you directly now, I would like to say that I'm sorry for what happened to you. Not that I feel I bear any personal responsibility. I condemn the actions of all rioters, no matter what side of the political aisle they sit on. What happened to you cannot be an easy thing to deal with, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody. As I said earlier, I hope I never find myself in that situation. But I can honestly say that if I do, well, unless somebody just has the upper hand, I really don't see the outcome being any different. Because the way that I see it, the moment somebody threatens your life with violent force, they lose the right to breathe. Self-preservation is a natural right, and it's the reason that we have a Second Amendment in this country, so that you can have the best tools available to protect your life in the event that you need to. I know what you're dealing with cannot be an easy thing. I don't know it from personal experience, I know how I would feel in that situation. So, if I could give any advice to you that you would be willing to take the time to listen to, that would be relevant to you in any way, it would be to find a way to live with this. And I don't mean moralization or justifications. We've got all of that we need. Everybody with two brain cells to rub together knows that you did nothing wrong. But it's still going to affect you. If there's anything that you or your family need, and it's within my power to give, track me down. Let me know. I wish you good fortune. I hope the best for you. I hope that you can find a way to live with this, because it's already a part of you. And nothing's going to change that. And one more thing that I genuinely, sincerely hope for you. I hope that every single media organization that lied about you and called you a white supremacist and a murderer and a rabble-rouser and a troublemaker, I hope they set you up for the rest of your life with more money than you could possibly spend. So here's to your defamation suits. May they be fruitful, because you've earned it. And in the immortal words of Pink Floyd, come right here, dear boy, have a cigar, and you're going to go far. You're going to fly high, and you're never going to die. You're going to make it if they try. You're going to make it if you try, sorry. And we already love you. Good luck to you in the future, Kyle.